start thinking about DAOifying yourself. Like, think about it. Like, how do you do it? Check out Mirror. Mirror is a great tool people are using. Maybe there'll be some more music native stuff over time, but like, you can kind of create yourself and your music or your project or your EP or album or even yourself as the sort of DAO and have this set of tokens, have some cash in a treasury, use it to fund your projects, use it to make more music, get more money back in the treasury by selling your music, and keep experimenting. Like, what's next? What products are coming next? What things haven't been done yet? It's such a new open field. Like, we're all learning together. But yeah, that's sort of the path I think that independent musicians in music NFTs need to go on.
Good Morning Metaverse, a Web3 and NFT podcast.
Good morning, Metaverse. Thank you for joining this podcast presented by Mint Songs. My name is Josh Gordon, and I'm the host of the GM METAVERSE podcast. I'm so excited to dive into today's episode where we interview Blockchain Brett, an investor, a collector, a founder in the Web3 space. He's someone who's gone super deep on everything NFTs and right now is doing a lot of amazing work at the intersection of music and NFTs. So we're about to dive into that amazing conversation. But before that, we got to start off with our quick tip. Now, often on this podcast, I'm going to be talking about education. Now, the reason is I think that education is a catalyst for adoption and understanding. And once you wrap your mind around everything that an NFT can be and the power behind this technology, you're going to find yourself wanting to be a collector and an investor and hopefully a creator in this beautiful space too. So there's a lot of amazing resources out there to dive into. And hopefully this podcast is one of them for you. One that I want to highlight today is a blog post on OpenSea. Now, this post is called The Non-Fungible Token Bible, Everything You Need to Know About NFTs. Now, the reason I think this piece of content is so great is because they really dive deep into everything related to NFTs. And it starts off with a high level understanding of what is an NFT, what's a non-fungible token, the different kinds of token standards, the metadata. It goes into the history of projects from 2017 through 2020, the different types of projects being built from decentralized universes to trading card games to DNS and name services like ENS and a lot of other cool projects. So it gives you a broad overview of the things being built currently in this ecosystem. And then from there, it dives into the myths and a lot of the arguments around NFTs and even talks about market size and market growth and distribution. So I think that this piece of content is one that you can read and immediately know 99% more about NFTs than most of the people in the world. And that's going to set you up for success. So we'll be sure to link this in our show notes. And yeah, give it a read and let us know what you think. We're happy to be here alongside you on your NFT and crypto education journey. So without further ado, let's talk to Blockchain Brett, a founder, a collector, investor. We've got a great episode, so let's do it. Welcome, man. Appreciate you joining the Good Morning Metaverse podcast.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
For sure, man. I've seen your name pop up a lot around the NFT space as a collector, as an investor and an entrepreneur. And so I think this discussion will bring a lot of value to our listeners because a lot of people are coming to us from Mint Songs and they're specifically interested in, the intersection of NFTs and music. And I know that's a passion of yours and something you're really focusing on right now.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully I can shed some light.
All right. So let's jump on into it. Before we jump into some specific questions, I'd love for you to give an overview of yourself and kind of walk us through how you got into crypto and where you're at in your journey, like professionally and also as a collector and investor today. Yeah,
totally. So it all kind of started professionally back in 2016 when I started working at Consensus, the Ethereum shop. Building apps there. So kind of like a product guy, founder within Consensus. And I was there for a couple of years. And during my time there in probably late 2017, early 2018 was when I actually stumbled across NFTs and started collecting. Like, you know, it was definitely smaller amounts of money being spent then, but didn't realize what it was going to be yet, but was definitely getting into and spending some money for, at that time, what seemed like a decent amount. And then left Consensus in 2018 to co-found a company called Fleek, which is doing a bunch of really cool stuff still. But it was kind of really started around developer tools for dApps. So, you know, we did a lot of stuff with IPFS and hosting and storage and IPFS, and we added like domains, like ENS domains and Handshake, and kind of went on and on. It's like a sort of parallel hosting tool, but just all decentralized tech. It was cool because a lot of the NFT companies too would use it, because IPFS is a popular storage solution for NFTs. And just like most of the dApps in the space in general were using it to host their front end or to store files. So yeah, that was cool. While I was there, I was almost a few years, and it was probably in 2020 when some of the volume, like relatively to what we'd seen NFTs had kicked up. So it started to feel like, I think at that point we saw like you could kind of get an understanding. It's like, all right, like DeFi was like a thing. It was like the first kind of category in crypto, when everyone, or even before that in like 2016, 2017, were just building in every single direction possible. So it sort of felt like NFTs getting like some decent volume. And then mid 2020, when like social tokens became a thing, it was like, oh, whoa, like this is a category, and this is like the next category, and this is the creator economy. So that was right around when I started realizing like this is going to be the next sector. And I have already been passionately excited about it, like organically, and like spending a bunch of my time doing it for fun, where I definitely knew I wanted to be a part of the wave and be a part of this space. So I actually started like reaching out to people early on, like that were doing stuff in the social token space. I mean, like notable people like Cooper and like Jess, and just kind of trying to get their thoughts and see what the move was, and planning towards basically building a product in the creator economy space. So I ended up leaving Fleek at the end of last year of 2020. And then kind of along in that, over that 2020 timeline as well, a lot happened for sure. I moved back to Miami. I was in New York for all of that previous, Consensus and Fleek time. And kind of was like catching my brother, his name's Miles, up to speed on like kind of everything crypto. And he's been building this really cool brand called Palm Tree Crew with his artist that he manages, Kygo, for a super long time, for like a decade. And they've been building the Palm Tree brand for several years. And it's just a really cool group of people and culture. And then they've even been investing in companies and like consumer products and really bridging the gap to culture a lot. So I love seeing what they were doing, and I saw it as a really cool opportunity to like kind of catch them more up to speed and maybe do something together. And we wound up like basically thinking that the best thing to do is to like invest in the space and to bridge culture and the resources of Palm Tree Crew, and like also just everything that I've been doing in the NFT space towards the crypto space. So we like kind of started working on that. And at the same time, we like were working with creators to get them up to speed and doing stuff. So we did Kygo's NFT drop back in March. We ended up doing the weekends NFT drop, which was sick. We worked closely with a team with that. We did like Jimmy Buffett's and Sam Feltz, and definitely like a lot of really cool creators that wanted some advice and like stewardship to get into this. And so that kind of led up to it. And then we set up a fund together called Palm Tree Crypto.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot to dive in there. It's pretty cool that you got to work for Consensus. I feel like back in 2017, that's when I heard about them too. And I remember someone I work with went over there. Like what a great foundational experience. I have a few questions around, you said you were reaching out to people as you started off your journey. What kind of advice did they give you that you felt you were really able to take and run with as you pursued, the next venture and wanted to dive in? I think a lot of people that are new to crypto, new to NFTs in 2021 are thinking some of the same things. So I'm just curious if you have any advice that you could pass to them that maybe you felt like you received from some of the leaders in the space.
Yeah. I mean, I think like I already had a pretty good understanding of it and was just kind of more like trying to give them a heads up that I'm coming. And like when I was thinking about it and then I wanted to build something or create or do something and just kind of get their thoughts. So, yeah, but it helps a lot to have like sounding boards for your ideas. Otherwise you kind of just live alone in your own head. So like reaching out to like groups of people or like channels, like communities, if you can, like if you find some like different DAOs and group chats and around certain topics, that's always cool. Or if there's people that you recognize are leaders or like thinking about the space that, ideally have the time to like answer you or know who you are, then it's definitely worth it to run things by them. Yeah. So cool. Definitely don't be scared to reach out, for sure.
Awesome. And, do you mind if we talk about some of let's dive into Palm Tree Crew and the crypto work. And I have some questions around how you worked with some of these big artists that you named. Like, what were some of them wanting help with? Was is it as high level as like what's an NFT and like what should our strategy be for the long term in crypto? Or is it much more tactical in terms of like, how do we set up our website for minting?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty high. It's definitely high level. I mean, I think there was like that. It was really like that January moment when like Blau did his huge drop that like the entire industry finally like was taken away, taken by storm. And was like, all right, what, Blau did that. Like, I want to do it. And I think it was nice because people in the NFT space were trying to like convince other people to do that stuff a lot. But the interest kicked up like to an extreme point, like almost like a peak from influencers and celebrities and stuff in like April and May. So yeah, I think like they generally, they've heard something, like someone on their team knows something, like they want to do something, but they don't know how. They don't know they don't know the platforms, they don't know the founders of the platforms to talk to, and they don't know, the logistics of like if you're going to do a collection, what types of what do people like, what do they want to see, like how do you price things, how do you market it, how do I educate in the community, like just kind of having like a marketing strategy and like community strategy. I think making them understand like what it means to be part of crypto and not to say, oh, I like crypto, I want to use it in my strategy, but to like say, hey, like I want to be a part of the crypto space and like enter it, and like how do I do that organically and like kind of stay there. So I think that's definitely the best way for bigger creators to get into it. It's not as easy as it seems.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're really setting yourself up and, and Palm Tree Crew as well as almost advisors from a strategy level down to, education, down to partnerships with the main providers and even the technical side.
Yeah, we've definitely done that, and we'll continue to. And it's like a very cool part of like what we do with investing too, and like kind of becoming partners with some of the products.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive into Palm Tree Crew. Can you explain like what PTC is really set up to be, and then how you've come along to add this, crypto lens to the investing strategy?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really cool partnership. I think the biggest resource, or like the most scarce resource for the crypto creator economy, is obviously creators. So you can, seeing that, like, Palm Tree Crew has the coolest network of creators. It's unbelievable who've have collaborated with and come to their shows and been part of the festivals and have been, supporters since day one and rocking the apparel. And, so it's really, really cool, network. And they're also used, it's kind of used to understanding that you're supposed to look and be a part of the tech world and kind of invest and promote and be a part of new products. So it's already that kind of culture too, which is really, really rare and really cool. So, I seeing that, it's a really awesome partner and platform to bring to crypto. And I've been deep in NFTs and creator economy since it started. So I have that kind of crypto native lens and seeing where things go long term, coming from the founder background, just being friends with a bunch of the other founders and having that lens of knowing what it's like to be a product guy, and building in the space and fundraising and all that. I think it makes for a really cool combined network of crypto people and really cool culture and creators. And there's really nothing off limits, and it's just a great kind of teammate and partner going into early stage for early stage companies to have. And we definitely want to be really active. So it's pretty cool.
So just to make sure that I'm clear and all the listeners are clear, Palm Tree Crew, from what I understand, you all throw music festivals and you do apparel, but you're also branching out to actually almost do venture capital type investing.
Yeah, that's the three areas of Palm Tree Crew, right? Correct. There's investing. It's a holdco, and there's investing. There's a festival brand. There's a festival arm, and there's also a apparel brand. And the investing is has already been doing consumer and consumer tech investing. And there's a bunch of really cool examples of companies and influencers and creators and stuff that has been bridged to them. And, and that's the same kind of thing. And we're teaming up with the investing arm and all of Palm Tree Crew, all the resources of Palm Tree Crew and everything crypto related is via Palm Tree Crew Crypto and the fund.
Gotcha. So can we discuss what products or types of companies or niche that you're focusing on within the crypto investment fund?
Yeah, for sure. I think the kind of big picture phase we're in is it's kind of I was saying, creator economy is the next wave. And, it's kind of analogous to where we're at now with this year of NFTs, NFT craze. Trust me, I'm a big supporter. I'm an NFT degen. I'm out there, I'm buying, I'm excited. And there's a ton of really cool, technological progress that has happened, in the NFT space, going from the kind of the ownership of the content actually being within the community and it becoming DAOs, and then there being fractionalization and crowdfunding and to buy NFTs and so much cool stuff. And in a way, it's of course way beyond where we were in 2017, but analogy wise, it's almost similar to kind of ICO versus DeFi, where the finance, it started and then the focus around going into more advanced financial products really took off, and that was kind of the beginning of DeFi summer. And I think it's pretty analogous to where we're at from this year of NFTs into what we're about to do going into this next year and the really big start of creator economy, where it's really it's about the content. Like we've created content so far. Like we've seen art and collectible projects, and that's kind of really been the main stuff. And they're really cool and they're sick, and they've created all sorts of awesome community, and you can see like how big of an impact it can have. And it's like, well, let's not forget about the rest of the content out there. And that's where things like music and things like video and streaming, and like, how do those types of creators come in here? And I think once you start to look at NFTs as content itself is the beginning of like the creator economy. And so, what does that mean? Like the areas we kind of look at is like taking like NFTs, like content as NFTs, and taking that and kind of giving it like a life cycle. Like art and collectibles for the most part inherently sort of like speculative things. Like it's a buy, hold, sell world, and people are adding more utility for sure. And it's great to see where it's going. But like with, music and videos, et cetera, like it's a very consumed content. So like, going from fundraising the content to distributing the content to engaging with the content and curating content and integrating directly into social layers. Like you can draw a ton of comparables of what we have kind of like in Web 2, like, like what's the equivalent of Spotify for music, and like the Spotify for crypto, right? And like, how does that get built on top of music NFTs? Like, I think that infrastructure and all the layers to come to make things like that a reality. And what's the equivalent of TikTok, right? Where like music is integrated. Like how does that work with music NFTs, et cetera? So like, and the same thing goes for YouTube and for videos and Twitch for streaming and all these different like types of content and all the creators that have built themselves as individuals, as businesses around their content. And like, that's one huge pillar. And I think the other aspect is their community. Another really big aspect, where how do you like organize your community to actually like have sort of ownership with you, and to have a sort of gamified experience and like a social, just like all of the infrastructure you need as a community to organize around that creator and their content. So, I think a big part of that is creator DAOs, like creators themselves, like all the content being created, like forming themselves as DAOs with treasuries and holding their content within the treasury. And, when they fundraise, accruing value to the treasury. When there's engagement, ideally it accrues value back to the NFT and back to the treasury. And for different types of curation, whether it's, playlisting for music, or if it's, whatever different types of method there might be for other types of content, like can be kind of like value generating moments that accrue back to NFT, back to treasury, and just keep going upstream eventually to social layers. And I think there can be a lot of value like accrued back to the content and by the content itself within a creator and their community, whether they decide to have that kind of structure. And the tools and the apps, et cetera, that are going to like allow these creators and their DAOs to grow their community and give the infrastructure to like vote and to communicate about concepts and to create little squads and teams and to level up to certain tiers and roles and like all the really cool fun stuff that and I think the financial aspect of course is really cool too. Like these people can be making a living doing what they love. Like it's a very passion based thing. Right. And I think that's a big part. And I think those communities themselves are also extremely valuable. So we're like pretty prepared to do all that, to go across the spectrum there, whether it's via NFTs and social tokens as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's pretty much the thesis.
Okay, well, that thesis spans quite a lot of pillars, but I guess it's cool that you're focusing on the whole life cycle. I mean, two questions I have to follow up on that, and then I think we can dive into maybe music NFTs specifically. Is you mentioned the life cycle of an NFT, or maybe more of the content creators. Does that life cycle ever end in terms of will an NFT at one point not have utility anymore, or does the life cycle kind of have to be something that you plan for to be a continuous flywheel? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, some content, some artists, etc., like, over time might fade away, or I think it's just a part of like just content world in general, right? But I think in some aspects, it's much more it lives on much better, and it's like much more collaborative, I would say. So, like, for instance, like a piece of content that's like on chain as an NFT, and maybe even like it's a bundled NFT, like some of the details within that content is on chain. Like, take like a piece of music, for example, like some of the stems within the music can be like NFTs themselves, right? And then so this song becomes, is being distributed and people are engaging with it, and it's getting like emotes towards it, or different new version of likes or whatever it is. And this is generating value back to NFT, or it's being curated in playlists, and maybe the curation is some sort of staking, and that's also generating like interest or value back to the song directly, the NFT. It keeps going upstream eventually to social layers, and now that's generating more value, or the people and everyone in between all the way up as it's being shared, et cetera, is kind of getting like their fair portions. Like that song has done well, right? For instance, like maybe it's crushing and it's made it all the way through, and it's really just doing, and now everyone's listening to it and loves the song. So people can go ahead, and now it's much easier to remix. So like that same song can start right back at the beginning of the funnel with a new creator, and like can bundle that NFT within their new NFT and have like kind of a standard for like when value is generated or created, how it flows back to the original creator that had the song remixed, or in the production life cycle when they're choosing stems, or like, et cetera. Like how does that kind of go back? And I think it makes for like a very like pluggable world of content, where like new content that goes out without like permissionlessly can be used by more creators, and then everyone is rewarded for it that originally happened, and and it's kind of just this really cool like Lego box of content that never dies.
It kind of reminds me of like the stitch feature on TikTok, like how now you can stitch a video of yourself or duet. You can duet another video and, add yours to it. And all of a sudden it takes on a whole new meaning, whether it's like a parody of it, or sometimes I've seen like beat makers make a beat and then someone's rapping as a duet. So, but you can't really monetize.
I mean, people sample stuff all the time or make remixes all the time. And like they have to be official and they have to be approved, and they have to, and in a lot of cases that can still happen, but like it's the future of it being like a bit more permissionless, and like everyone kind of getting their fair value, and upstream part of it is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And something you said kind of like hit a light bulb for me was around talking about how we can NFT the stems, and it's not just thinking about the whole song. You break out some of those stems and allow them to be, reused in other productions. Because recently I was thinking a lot about gaming NFTs and how you can take some of these game assets that were once locked up in like a closed system, a closed game, and we can use them in other games, and how, by breaking that game barrier, your possibilities kind of become infinite, and the ability to reuse stems in that aspect too, I think probably going to lead to some really cool innovation and like collaboration amongst artists that you would have never seen before.
Yeah. I mean, who knows exactly how it works, but definitely, in that direction makes a ton of sense. And the creator economy stuff like overlaps super well with gaming as well. So it's very, very similar. I think a lot of creator economy is like taking from gaming and learning from what's been done. And then a lot of creators are gaming focused creators. So there's definitely a lot of interlapping.
Yeah. So, okay. One more Palm Tree crew question for you. Maybe it's just more Kygo related. So I know he's got an ape, right? Mm-hmm. And that was recently displayed. I think it was recently displayed at some festival, if I saw correctly on Twitter. But how did that conversation between whether it's you or your team and him go in terms of like, hey, you should get this ape, and like, here's the reasons why. I just kind of want to pick apart some of the reasoning, but behind the ape a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're talking about Bored Apes for everyone who may not be aware.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's like seen it for a while. I mean, like we go back, like he's aware that I've been like this sick degen, like buying NFTs for years before it was cool. And like, so, we've been friends for a long time, and like, he's seen it, and like, so he's like aware of it, and he knows about punks and apes and a bunch of different stuff. I've been sending him other projects too to check out, and like, he's really into it. He loves the community aspect. Like he sees, like he understands a bit about like blockchain and that kind of stuff. I'm definitely like helping him around it. And like with the ape is actually kind of like, this cool thing where like, yeah, I've been like sending him one, trying to kind of like hoping he would buy one pretty soon. And, I got my brother to buy one recently, Miles. So it's his manager. I think that kind of like triggered him to like be like, okay, if Miles got one, like, yeah, now I should definitely get one. And then we were actually with his name's Ivan from MoonPay. He's the founder of MoonPay, and he was with us at EDC. And I think he's doing a lot of cool stuff around promoting Bored Ape, and he really pushed.
I think he just helped Lil Baby get one too.
He's been helping a lot of people. Yeah, he's been doing really cool stuff. So, he actually got it for Akira and gave it to him, and like, we're investors in MoonPay as well, so we're like pretty close with him, and it's kind of feels like it's part of like a bit of a campaign going on, and we love it. It's great, and there's definitely some more that we're looking at and want to keep getting Kygo more.
So when you see artists, like mainstream artists, purchase an NFT, and let's stick with like the Bored Apes here. Is this a long-term play for them? Is this like a buy and never sell? Or do you think we'll see them kind of rotate in and out of communities?
I don't think they're trying to sell. Like, it feels like once they understand, it's like a community thing, and it's like kind of like it feels like a culture thing. Like they get culture. You're like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is like the thing to do. And like, you're supposed to buy it, and you're supposed to make your profile picture. And then like, when they look at the traits, it's kind of like, oh, like I like that trait, like, and it resembles them for some reason. Like, I know one of the traits we were looking at that Kygo liked was like the shirt with the Hawaiian shirt, right? Because like, it's very tropical, stuff like that. Like, there's just certain traits that might resonate with people, and they like it, and they kind of feel connected to it. And yeah, I think once they buy, they know like, I'm just kind of joining in on a wave, and it's a long-term thing. But yeah, it is expensive to do. Like, it's, pretty pricey. So there's definitely like hey, like, do you think this is going to like increase in value question? Like, do you think it's going to go up? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, totally. Man, it hurts to talk about apes sometimes. I had an ape. I sold it, and I got a mutant now though, so we're good. But I definitely am envious when I see, more and more traction gaining. But I mean, I totally agree. Long term, groups like the apes are super, super fascinating to be a part of. Another question around that is like, as more music, I think we're seeing slowly, but like more musical artists gravitate towards apes specifically. In the Bored Apes roadmap, it doesn't talk about anything music related necessarily, but as you start having community members come from this, artist world, do you think that can kind of change the direction of a community, or even see subgroups form amongst EDM artists and hip hop artists, coming together to do something special within, the Bored Ape ecosystem specifically, versus acting as kind of sole community members?
Yeah, I think like certain, like there can be like sub communities of traits. I remember when we were looking at it, we were like, oh, like, I think it was the Chainsmokers had like the cheetah print, the cheetah fur, and then like Marshmallow had the multicolored teeth. Um, so, I think there's definitely like, it's like, oh, okay, well, does that trait going to hold like a certain floor? And,
I mean, more so like not necessarily the traits, but all those artists, like, do you ever see them
Yeah.
coming together and forming some kind of like, I don't even know what you would call it, like a DJ subgroup of apes that only like, DJs get access to or something like that?
That would be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. I haven't seen anything yet like that of that magnitude. But I mean, they're all kind of already friends.
It's true.
But yeah, like that would be sick. I mean, I'm in a group chat where it's like people based in Miami that have apes, or like stuff like that. Like there's for sure some cool overlaps of like subgroups for NFT.
Cool. Okay. Well, I appreciate you diving into all that. I definitely have a lot of questions about music NFTs specifically. So you want to dive in with that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, all right. I know I've seen that you're starting to collect a lot of music NFTs. What are you seeing in like that specific niche that is exciting you? And, where's this trend going in terms of, releasing NFTs versus just MP3s?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I kind of really started when like I've been thinking a ton about it since like Kygo's NFT drop. They're like really cool NFTs. Like it's like unreleased songs and like full 3D visuals and everything. But for like the kind of labeling of it and like the like how it's represented, it's as art, and I kind of like started to like kind of agitate me a little bit, or like thinking to myself, like Kygo is literally like one of my, he's probably my favorite, musician, artist in general. And like, he's so talented, and like, he should be like, when he creates, he should be able to do it for the reason why his content and like why he's an artist, and I think that like I started to see, like, that's what really made me feel like, how do other creators break into this for the purpose of their content, not like fitting into an art marketplace, and that kind of led me down a path. And I think there's already some organic like music stuff moving, coming across things like catalog, where like I was just like, all right, this is literally for music. Awesome. Like these are songs, this isn't art. This isn't music, like kind of like symbolized or covered up as art. These are songs, like no ifs, ands, or buts, and then I saw communities forming, things like Song Camp, where musicians were coming together around the common goal of creating music and crypto related projects, and saw their first cohort of like, a bunch of musicians coming together to make music. And they made final song NFTs that came out of it that were songs. They put them on catalog. And yeah, like that's where I can tell the movement was starting. And even for me, when I first looked at like music NFTs, I was like, like, what do I like kind of get here? Like, is this just a collectible, or like, which for me, it's just kind of crazy if I'm asking those questions, because, I was collecting crypto art in 2018. Like, so I've been a few years around the bend of like, this is the ownership, this is the art, like anything that's replicated wherever it goes, like I have the real ownership of it because I have the NFT, right? And it takes like an extra mental bend to make the same realization for music, because music traditionally has like this consumption model and like revenue model path, right? So it's like harder to imagine. It's like, wait, do I get the royalties, or like, that's like usually what people first ask. And to like realize like, hey, like this is an artist, a musician taking their music and putting it on chain as the source file of their song. Like, you're valuing this as owning the song. Like, this is the song, the concept of like valuing music based off of royalties and like discounted cash flows of masters, I think is just like this, it's this world that's been created, and like it's been created by existing infrastructure. Whereas like NFTs get to break that model pretty intensely. Like you get to look at a music NFT and say, this is the same way that when a visual artist takes their art and puts it on chain as an NFT, like that's ownership of this piece of art. It's the same way, right? Like when you put the music NFT on chain. I think it's a really tough mental bend to get over, but it's going to have to happen for sure. And the other really cool thing that I think is like, that makes the potential for music NFTs like so big, like way bigger than art and bigger than collectibles, like, or maybe within collectible, however it ends up turning out, but like so much bigger than what we've seen is like that it's because of how consumed it is. I just went to EDC with 150,000 people just to watch music. Like, where's that in the art world? You know, like, where's the Spotify of art? Like, Spot is an enormous app just based off of listening to music. Like, it has distribution, it has people consuming it. There's playlists. There's a ton of examples of like software and apps, et cetera, that just feed the consumption of music. TikTok is an enormous social media app based off the concept of like natively integrating music, right? And so I think the potential is like crazy big, like much, much bigger. And the cool part about it too is it's not only like, I think not only do you have to valuing music differently as like, as the NFT, as the song, like subjectively saying like, oh, this is worth something to someone, right? And like that this is ownership of the song. Not only that, but like in the future, you have to have a little bit of vision to see it's like this stuff is going to be engaged with, it's going to be curated, it's going to be socialized. Like, how are those going to create new monetization models that are going to bridge back essentially revenue back to directly to NFTs and back to the creators and their communities if it's a DAO.
That's hard. That's a hard connection to make, especially because, you have a music background right through your connections. Personally, I've like worked with a lot of artists, like independent artists. And like, if you're not in that world, understanding all the paths to revenue is a very hard way to analyze an NFT, especially because I feel like a lot of the ones we're looking at right now, you either have almost a high level DJ drop in an NFT or a small independent artist. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that middle gap is not quite there yet. So, how do you look at an independent artist and say, I want that NFT, even though they're like not making any money off of their music right now?
Yeah. Well, honestly, like, we're in 2018 crypto art days of music NFTs. Like, you have to realize that though, this is the beginning of a renaissance. So like some of these NFTs, sure, like, maybe they're not gonna be the most popular songs ever, but like they're the beginning of the movement.
And you see value in some of those being the first, just like crypto art.
Yeah. The first, and like, obviously at like a foundational level, like at a basis, like the artist needs to continue a consistent brand in the crypto world and like continue to build in this direction, like long term. Like if you stop doing stuff like, you're gonna, then that's just it's not like no one's going to keep paying attention. Right. So I think like, if, maybe there's some outliers there, but yeah, like generally speaking. And then like, with that being said, it comes to like, when you came in and when you started and like how serious you took it. And like, there's definitely a bunch of subjective factors that are like almost impossible to determine of like, who's going to be the X copy and the, who's going to be the hack house and that's kind of like, it's kind of the fun part. It's like, you got to listen. Like when I go on to buy music NFTs, like I'm listening to the songs and like picking my favorite ones and believing in those artists and knowing that and my biggest thing is to make sure that I know that they're there. Like they're there to stay. They believe in this movement. They see a long-term future and like, they're going to continue down this path. And then I love the song. I support the person. I'm like hanging out with some of them. I'm throwing a festival, basically a festival. It's a music NFT event next week in NFT NYC. That's like all my favorite crypto musicians literally like playing live. So like, it's the coolest thing ever to have to get to do that. But yeah, that's one huge part. And the other part I would say is like, is how kind of big you are at the time you entered too. Like, best example I can give is like in 2019 when Pac entered crypto art. I think I'm getting the date right. It was, like he had like a ton of followers on Twitter. Like he was a super like kind of renowned already voice in like digital art, and he came in early and like it paid off, like he got a lot more respect for it. Same thing with like Blau. Like he came in early in comparison to the rest of the musicians. Like, that definitely, and he kept consistently going and believing in it. Yeah. People as well. I think, obviously they came, like, I'm kind of almost going in order here, but still People was huge before he came in, like 1 million Instagram followers, like he's been doing digital art for 5 years or however long. And like, so I think that concept also carries over. It's those kind of two main factors that I look at a bit. But that's only in this time in which like a lot of the music NFTs right now are sort of like, they kind of are sort of art and like collectibles a bit because of like the historical value. But over the long run, it'll become much more about like, I think the like kind of like the performance of the song a bit, and like how it carries upstream and those are.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there's royalties. What other music utility really excites you? I mean, some things that I have on the top of my head, NFTs as tickets, royalties, funding the production of a song or an album. I mean, I don't quite know how music videos fit into it yet. We're seeing some examples of community being built, but yeah, is there any other really strong music utility that you're excited about?
I do really like the production side as well. Yeah. I think like the content creation, the funding, like is where we're at right now. I think we're just starting to see some production tools that are like kind of like on-chain music production. And that's pretty cool. That's obviously really cool. And I think there's a huge future there. Like you can think of like what would Splice look like with NFTs, and kind of like what I was saying around being able to remix songs or use certain stems and sample stuff. And like that becomes a really cool feature of like permissionless, like kind of sampling and like remixing, etc. And like the original, it all being tracked back and any value accrued flows through to like the original artist. And it becomes like this cool cycle. So I think the production side is really cool as well. And there's a huge future there. Yeah. And the obviously, then of course, like, I mean, we haven't even seen like a NFT music player yet. We haven't seen like any sort of playlisting going on or curating yet. We haven't seen like any, I mean, those are pretty big steps to see that are excited about. And more creator DAOs, like we've seen so far, shout out Daniel Allen doing like his music creator DAO. Like there's been a couple more since then. You mentioned Daniel, and I kind of had a question, like, who do you think is going to be like regarded as one of those OG music NFT artists, like, like the way we look at some of the actual more digital artists you mentioned earlier? Yeah, well, now I'm giving away some real alpha here.
Well, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, dude, honestly, the first artist that I ever started supporting was Matthew Chaim. Who like to me is like I'll always support. I mean, like he also created Songcamp. So not only was he like the first of decent size kind of to like put out music NFTs, but he also created the most important music DAO at the same time, which to me feels like very like historic, kind of like culturally historic. And he's continuing to do awesome stuff. Like Songcamp is going to all sorts of new levels with their most recent camps that they're doing, and the amount of musicians there are growing. And yeah, he's going to continue to build an incredible legacy, and he'll continue to put out great music too. He hasn't turned himself into DAO though. I would say Daniel Allen is like another really great one because I mean he's very focused on the music. He's continuing to put out a lot of music now as NFTs, and he also created himself as a creator DAO. I think he's actually the first. to really like do it in this way that's about the music. So that's pretty crazy. Other people on the platform I'm huge fans of, people like Oshi. Just definitely listen to his stuff. Oh no, I don't want to make any good people to give shout outs to.
That was great. That was great. I just wanted your perspective on that. All right. I got a couple more questions for you as we continue diving into the music stuff. But if you were to talk to, like, if I wanted to send this podcast to a small independent artist and I'm going to say, hey, like jump to minute 46, we like Blockchain Brett breaks down exactly what, you know, his advice is for you as a maybe non-crypto native person, but wanting to grow your career and also like jump into the crypto world and utilize NFTs to do so. Are there a couple, you know, pillar piece of advice that you can pass to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you. Go check out all the products. Like every single product, like check them all out. I mean, we're on the Mint Song podcast, so there you go. But, you know, things like catalog, sounds about a launch. That's a dope one. Things like Arpeggi, hope I'm pronouncing that correct, which is a production tool. You know, things like Club BPM and check out Songcamp. Like that's a community. Go to Songcamp, check it out. Like you'll see, like there's a series of community musicians creating stuff together. It's a musician like Common. Which also created Club BPM, which is, you know, now we're getting the music players and stuff. Like, just like go check it all out, see what you vibe with, listen to the music there. You know, maybe not everyone can buy stuff. Hopefully there's, you know, more stuff that makes it like affordable or like more like to just open the gates to more people and stuff, different variations. But, you know, I would say like, try to get in contact, like submit your music, like try to get in contact with the founders, try to get onto the platforms, get your music on there, start building your brand, go on Twitter, tweet everything, like talk about the journey, talk about what you're realizing, why this is a movement, you know, talk about your music you're dropping. And, you know, if you're doing well at that and like you get on some platforms, get your music out, you know, start, you know, value your stuff how you think it should be valued. But also in the beginning, you know, it's always good to start like maybe on the lower side a bit, just so you can like pick up some traction and like earn some respect. And like, you know, not saying to list it lower than you want, but it could help. And you know, if that's going well, start thinking about DAOifying yourself. Like think about it. Like how do you do it? Check out Mirror. Mirror is a great tool people are using. Maybe there'll be some more music native stuff over time, but like, you know, you can kind of create yourself and your music or your project or your EP or album or even yourself as the sort of DAO and have this set of tokens, have some cash in a treasury, use it to fund your projects, use it to make more music, get more money back in the treasury by selling your music, and keep experimenting. Like, you know, what's next? What products are coming next? What things haven't been done yet? It's such a new open field. Like we're all learning together. But yeah, that's sort of the path I think that independent musicians in music NFTs need to go on.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, what I heard right there was like starts with education, and then you need to get some experience. And once you have those two, it's time to start experimenting. So, I mean, that felt really good to have 3 E's right in a row, but I think that's what you just kind of walked us through. And then you also dropped a word, DAOifying yourself. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think we're going to see I want to DAO.
Yeah, and then once you're a DAO, like you got to start building community in like a Discord like thing. You know, I mean, Discord's obviously an option, but like start coordinating and organizing community. I mean, like that's really the future too. It's like next time as you go forward and you're releasing music, you're really like everything's top of funnel, social media wise, etc. Until and the number one kind of KPI, the number one thing you want to focus on really is like growing your core community, people that are really, really following you. And that's kind of like the true fans concept, right? And that's where you know, you can like start keeping your community and have really good communications and like up-to-date announcements like that are going to care the most. Like all your NFT collectors or like biggest listeners, et cetera, are likely to be in there and ready. Like, and that's the most important thing you need to alert, essentially. And that's where like all of them are like maybe have your tokens, and the Discord is like token gated by if you have the tokens, you can get in. And then once you're in there, you can create all sorts of gamifications like roles, depending on how many tokens you have or being able to level up. Then you can create like earning opportunities. Like you can say, hey, like, you know, I'm posting this announcement, like I'm just doing this drop, you know, you want to get the NFT sold. Like, I mean, without shilling like too hard, but it's like, you know, your community is like, hey, if you like retweet it, or if you like, you know, you do something that's of value that like brings back attention or curation back to the song, or like I'll reward you. Like, and the more you do stuff within that community, other people can realize too, and it can become a community effort to reward each other. And like, you know, before you know it, me as like one of the big holders of Daniel Allen, right? Like I'm pretty active in Overstim and his community, but like, you know, it's pretty possible that someone could have not put any money in that crowdfund and is being super active and helpful, and like someday surpasses me in the amount of Overstim tokens they have because of like their contribution to the community, which one day, you know, could also be a pretty big, you know, financial upside. So like it's pretty cool how it works, and like what the future might look like.
Love that breakdown. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, all right, now I'd like to transition a little bit away from music NFTs and, you know, quickly cover your roadmap. Like what's next for blockchain, Brett? It could be short term, long term. Like what's the, you know, the next thing on your list?
Yeah. So, I mean, we launched this fund. We've done some investments so far. We're like, you know, continuing to go and really like support all the companies that we get involved with and partner with and become, you know, teammates with. And we're continuing to do that in the creator economy space. Like our fund is very focused on crypto and the creator economy. So, you know, we'll keep doing that and taking that to the next level. And then from there, I mean, you know, I'm going to keep being involved with DAOs, and maybe there's a DAO to come. Maybe even products at some point to come. So cool. The future is limitless.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for doing that. Now let's do the 1-2 Web3. So I got 3 pretty quick questions for you. Influential creator or entrepreneur that inspires you in the NFT space? There's no wrong answers here.
That's a tough one. I guess it should be easy, right? Influential creator or entrepreneur. I mean, you know, the reason why I started collecting NFTs is because of Coldy. So how about that for inspiration? Coldy is a crypto artist. That was the first NFT I ever bought.
Awesome. And your favorite NFT, is it the first one, or is your favorite NFT a different one?
Favorite NFT. I feel like I have to say my punk, right? It's like my profile picture. But no, I mean, actually, honestly, it's probably this. It's probably one of the Coldy pieces I have, actually. I don't know though, man. I'm pretty passionate about music NFTs these days too. It's
hard
tough.
To pick one. Hard to pick one.
I got a few, you know. So it's No, probably maybe like I don't know if you heard of Coldy, but he has a decentralized series, and he created an async art piece, or it was a part of the first piece called The First Supper on async art, and he's a layer within it, and all the other layers are like the most OG crypto artists like Xcopy and Hackatow and Josie and all those people. So his layer is like his entire decentralized series in one piece. So I have that one, and that's probably my prized possession NFT.
Yeah, I heard about your bidding story on that one, so it's pretty intense. Sweet. And then last question of the 1, 2, 3 is, in 5 years, what's the craziest thing that we'll be doing in the metaverse and Web3 that most people aren't even thinking of yet?
Yeah, I mean, like, you'll be, hanging out. You'll be best friends with the other biggest fans of your favorite creators that you've never met yet.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And through the DAOs and through those interactions of community. Well, sweet, man. I think this was a great conversation. I thought it was really interesting to hear about the work you're doing from like an investment standpoint all the way through, why you're so hyped about music NFTs. I know I've got some digging in the music NFT world to do myself, especially I haven't dived into Daniel Allen's like Discord yet. So that's on my list. So appreciate that. Where can people follow you?
Follow me on Twitter. My handle's at Web3Brett. But Blockchain Brett's the name, and that's the best place. I've been getting more active there, so keep your eyes peeled for some more music NFT content, and then in general some more creator economy DAO content to come. All
right. Well, thank you, Blockchain Brett. Appreciate you joining the Good Morning Metaverse podcast. Everybody listening, please be sure to give him a follow, like the podcast, and we'll be joining you next week. Thanks for talking.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Good Morning Metaverse, a Web3 and NFT podcast.